I'm curious to hear what you think about Christopher Hitchens. I read two of his books in high school. I read God is Not Great and then his book on the Elgin Marbles. And the latter was, for me, an eye-opening look at a fascinating topic. And the first ushered me into a couple years of militant atheism. But I don't really know. I mean, I'm not as tuned into his debates and some of the other things he's done, so I'm curious just how you think about him.
Christopher Hitchens, when he did his about face, his volte face after 9/11.
What was that about face that he did?
Oh, I guess it's time. It's time. Christopher Hitchens was considered a person on the left. He was kind of one of several characters who always was representing the left in public. There was a second character named Alexander Cockburn, a brilliant journalist. Christopher Hitchens, Edward Said. These were what you might call the celebrities of the left. And after 9/11, Hitchens switched sides. He became a right-winger. And I actually wrote a long essay on Christopher Hitchens. My impression was that there was never any deep commitment. There was no, as they call it, moral core to him. Because if you have a moral core, let's say you realize you're wrong about something. It's very agonizing because you've invested your whole being in a cause. And then to discover you're wrong is an agonizing experience. And the normal process is it's incremental. You don't just throw everything away, because that's effectively to say your whole life was a waste. Your whole life was an illusion. So you may say, I'm no longer a radical, now I'm a liberal, which is what most young people, let's say, who went through the 60s, they were radical or imagined themselves to be radical. I'm not going to be in any way disparaging. You're young, and you imagine yourself to be radical. And then when you get older, you get a little more conservative. That's the normal evolution, but you still preserve certain of your radical beliefs, convictions, you care about humanity and so on and so forth. But when somebody just goes from one end of the spectrum to the other, that's not serious. That's not serious. It means you never had any real commitment. I remember, I don't know if I should say his name. Okay, somebody who knew Christopher Hitchens very well. He said, Christopher Hitchens, whenever he walked into a room, he had only one goal, one objective: to become the center of attention. And that to me was him. He had his erudition as a political writer. Now, I'm not going to in any way disparage his knowledge of the English language, knowledge of Shakespeare and things like that. That's not my bailiwick, so I can't render judgment. But the politics, you know what his politics was? He would find three facts, arcane facts. Let's say he wants to write an essay about Pakistan, okay? So he'll come up with an arcane fact like Pakistan means literally land of the pure. And then he'll come up with a second and a third, and then he'll write 10 pages. You know, he just needs to plug in 3 facts, and then it's a verbal tapestry. It's a verbal tapestry. There's nothing there.
Very different from your work.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just words. Now, as I said, words are fun, and he could be fun to read. Okay? I'm not going to deny that. But he's not pretending to be, he's not Philip Roth. He's not writing literature. He pretends that this is political, but there's no content there. You know, if you read his book, The Missionary Position,
it's a good title.
Yes, it was a good title by, what's her name? You know.
Mother Teresa?
Yeah, Mother Teresa. My brain, my memory. Oh, God, please. Mother Teresa. There's nothing in the book. He has like a few pages analyzing a picture. You hear what I'm saying? A picture of her with some corrupt individuals. Just look at her face. Look at, this is not politics. Now, of course, politics could be fun. Trotsky was, I don't know the Russian, but he was Leon Trotsky, the Russian revolutionist, but mastery of what makes a great writer, mastery of simile, a mastery of metaphor, breathtaking. And it's just wonderful to read. Wonderful to read, but it's also rich in political content. He loved language, but he also was deeply immersed in politics. Somebody once said Trotsky was an egomaniac, for sure, but somebody once described, one of his comrades said, Trotsky is in love with his ego, but his ego is revolution. It was a very precise characterization of him. He's in love with his ego, but his ego is revolution. You couldn't separate the political from the personal. He was, So of course you could have fun with language, and Trotsky was hilarious, not intentionally, in putting down other people. You can have fun, but it's not political if it's just fun. For Christopher Hitchens, it was plugging in 3 facts and then this verbal tapestry that went on for pages. It was fun to read, but you walk away, what exactly did I learn here? Not really anything. It's like on the book you mentioned, God is Not Great. The writer Alex Coburn, who was associated with Hitchens before they split after 9/11, he said, Hitchens thinks he's doing something so brave by attacking religion. And Coburn said, that battle was fought 500 years ago. It's not exactly courageous now to fight that battle in the West. Okay? But then he also said, the left has always had a friendly relationship with people in religion. We've seen them as allies sometimes. Sometimes there's disagreement. But, you can't imagine the history of the left, say, in the recent years, let's say during the wars in Central America, during the Reagan administration. There was a phenomenon, forgotten now, called liberation theology. And liberation theology was priests and pastors who took up the struggle of the poor